Welcome to another Rooster Talk. I have Brad Underwood here with me from Galileo Mining. Brad's been sort of exploring down at the Fraser Range, and we've had a previous coffee with Samso. So well, that was almost beginning of May. So Brad, just give us an update of what's been happening down your woods. And I can see that obviously you guys have been very busy with your announcements. So Brad, there, go ahead.
Great, thanks Noel, it's good to be here. And as you've said, we have been busy in the Fraser Range since we last spoke. We've been undertaking a number of air core drilling programs, which is a shallow drilling technique, allows us to get beneath the cover and have a look at the rock. Remember, in the Fraser Range, there's a layer of sandstone above the target rocks we're looking for. So the first thing we need to do is take a look at those rocks, determine whether they're prospective, and then do more and subsequent rounds of drilling on those. So since we met last, we've identified 3 new intrusions with the potential to host nickel. We've named them Backmoon, Greenwood, and Think Big. And as well as that, we have the current area of focus, which is called the Lantern Prospect. Probably one of the more interesting things for investors are the EM surveys we've been running at the Lantern Prospect. And EM surveys are a great way of looking beneath the cover rock for zones of conductivity, which could represent nickel mineralization. Our most recent announcements, we released the results of those EM surveys, and we've come up with a great target that's a long strike of the mineralization we've hit previously in RC drilling. The target's around 225 meters deep. It's a cross-cut strike, which is a good sign in terms of its potential to be mineralized. And very importantly for this type of exploration technique, we don't have any conductive sediments in the area that we know of. So it's looking likely, or at least possible, that the conductor we have is related to sulfide mineralization. And we very much hope that that sulfide is containing nickel. So we'll be looking to start drilling that at the end of next month.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, touching on what you've mentioned with your the fact that you don't have any other conductors in your country rock, that must be very encouraging for you guys from geologically, I'm guessing.
It is. So with EM surveys, they're very good at picking out conductors. Unfortunately, a lot of conductors are often of sedimentary origin with little potential for economic extraction. With the drilling we've done to date, we haven't come across any of those type of false positives, is the term that we'd use. The sediments that usually contain graphite and pyrrhotite are very conductive. We just haven't seen any of those to date. That doesn't mean they aren't there. But if we were to be seeing a lot of those types of conductive sediments in this environment, then it would, we would be more measured in our approach to the targets that we have. The targets that we have are well developed from both air core drilling and from geophysics, and we're very hopeful that they will lead to success.
All right, and the recent announcement you mentioned, you know, there's those targets. How close are you guys to getting actually, you know, the truth machine onto the ground?
Well, we've signed a contract, and the RC rig will turn up in late July, around the 3rd week of July. Typical drillers, we usually have to wait for them to finish their previous program, so it's plus or minus 5 days, sometimes up to a week, but 3rd week of July is when we are planning. And then we'll come back and do the diamond drilling after that. So we've got a number of targets that we can intersect with RC drilling. And RC drilling in this area can get down to around 250 meters, but below that we need to use diamond drilling. So some targets we can hit with the RC rig, and then we'll also put in some pre-collars, which will allow us to do the diamond drilling tails in August.
In terms of I mean, in terms of geology, in terms of prospectivity, I know you've mentioned the fact that you guys haven't really had any other false positive, but from a so a layman shareholder point of view, are these targets sort of, you know, I know it's a crystal ball thing. What's the percentage of success in if you had to use a geological technical answer?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to quantify exactly. So with geology, they're qualitative targets, and we build them up using different layers. So the more layers of evidence we have to suggest that the target has economic mineralization, the higher weighting we'd give that target. So for the targets that we have, we'd put them right at the top of the pile. I don't think we'd get any better qualitative targets than the ones that we have. We know that we are within the right rock types. We know that there is sulfide mineralization along strike with the disseminated hits that we've had. We know that the EM conductors have the right characteristics to be associated with sulfide. And importantly also, it's not too deep, that if it was a discovery, it could also be economic. So some targets might be too deep. And with the targets we're looking at, they're at a good level to be economic if they do hold mineralization. So it's pretty hard to put a percentage number on it.
Yeah, no, understandable. I guess in today the market's, you know, very buoyant. I mean, you would have been out there talking to, you know, the capital markets, or the participants of capital markets. What's their feeling? What's their thinking about what's happening all around, especially for you guys?
Well, there's definitely money available for good projects. We've seen a number of capital raises, ourselves included. We finished a $5 million raise a short time ago, and a number of other nickel projects in Western Australia are also attracting funding. For good quality projects, there is money around, and that's a great thing. So we know that we are in a high risk, high reward business, but there are still people prepared to back us, even with the current market conditions globally. And I think that's a reflection that what we do is relatively unaffected by the short-term events. So if we were to make a discovery, it takes a number of years for that discovery to get built into a resource and then into a mine. So we are a longer-term play, which is mostly unaffected by the short-term circumstances that we now find ourselves in terms of the mining cycle.
Yeah, to put you in a fixed position here, in a corner, so to speak, Brad. Going forward, we know you got your drilling coming up. So what's the dates? You know, what's where, you know, for those expectant shareholders. What's the dates of, you know, when you're going to be on the ground, when the results come out, and when the good results are going to come out?
When the good results come out, that's a tough one. I can tell you our drilling starts in late July. That's the first round of RC drilling. The diamond drilling is scheduled to start in August. And we are also planning to have a second round of drilling later in the year, based on the targets that we believe will come out of the new intrusions that we've found. So we've got at least, I'd say 3 to 4 catalysts based on drilling results between now and the end of the year. The first being the RC drilling in July, diamond drilling in August, and then we're planning another round of RC in October and diamond drilling after that again. So at least 4 catalysts related to those drilling programs. And we only need one to come up, and I think we'll have some very happy shareholders.
Speaking of shareholders, I guess, you know, in this moment, in your limelight, if you had a shareholder right in front of you now, what would your words of wisdom be to him or her?
That exploration is a process, and it takes some time to build targets up. We have built these targets we're about to start drilling. It's taken us 18 months to get to this point with these prospects. The next 6 months are going to be very interesting for us, and it's a good time to stay tuned and invested in the company.
All right. I guess, you know, this is exciting times, and as many people in the industry calls it truth machine time. But Brad, fantastic. Thanks for the update. sounds like you guys are on the road, and lots of news to be coming out, I guess. So hopefully in a little while we can have another update once after your first drilling program.
That sounds great, Noel, and hopefully we can deliver some results and we can talk about the intersections and grades that we hit.
Yeah, those good results I mentioned, we can talk about those.
Exactly.
All right, thanks. Have a good time.
Yeah, thanks, Noel.